can prevent anybody from commenting on a live case. Because that's what she has done. So lawless.
The legal validity and so on, simply being called a matter create trouble, lost your case. And this is what she is saying. Okay? It's not that somebody is saying, she is saying. It is obvious from what she's saying, from what she herself is saying.
All right, I was saying, you movie Biakwaba, now I am from Mega TV and platform with ESO. Alan Kojo Chamantin, member, senior member, your friend, Solomon Owusu. In fact, what China doing Ediafa, Madame Gertrude Torkonoo Anaba, Seki Araba, Gertrude. The press conference here, in fact, over the wiki or baby, now was show more syncophobia, attacking. Ubi kasa resign, ubi kasa retire, any de kika Osia, and yet easy cry, Kwesi Pratt Junior so na Owusu Nsubi, on so Edina Drinchre etu ega. Na uti and some more can and out to Miss Ampa, and send more more reacted to a Israeli, any Iranian, or more a warner, and so any US how their intervention so. It's me a cool room. Nabusia for Mimpesemica Sabi, young court nine cutie in summer. Uncle Kwesi Pratt Jr. any Solomon Owusu edituga ewo Pan African TV ewo show ayefeno allergy and allergy sinner ni show no eso awusayinti nseni bi na yakoba medinaka ina ebeto aso eyo platform if meso so subscribe na do comment betum na like jumedi na share na foforo enye bi ahwe
because nothing she has done since this petition surfaced shows that indeed she qualifies to be referred to as a Chief Justice, and I mean every word of it. You know, when the petition was sent to the presidency, I think I was one of those, among those that said, look, negotiate your exit. Take a cue from Abe Fortas in the US. When as a Supreme Court judge, he was also, in fact, in his case, he had taken $20,000 from the Wolfson Foundation. And at that time, there wasn't any law in the US that mandated any Supreme Court judge who was given a gift to declare. But Congress said, yes, once you have taken money, they couldn't trust your credibility. He processed the situation and said, for the sake of the judiciary, I will resign. They knew Nixon wanted to get him out, to get a more conservative Supreme Court judge in there. But they said, look, I'm only one, let me resign and let the judiciary be. So, on the basis of this, I advise that, madam, negotiate your exit. We have others in this country who could have helped you out. At that time, some of our brothers from the NPP did not help the matters. That is the truth of the matter. Because everything we have been told in Article 146 says that the proceedings and everything to do with impeachment or removal of a CJ has to be done in camera. But you and I were in this country when we heard or saw Vincent as if we go to court. He that had not been petitioned, he went to court that the CJ had not received a copy of the petition. How did Vincent De Silva get to know that the CJ hadn't received a copy of the petition? Because the CJ had leaked that information to Vincent Teko Asifa. As if that was not enough. The counsel for Vincent Teko Asifa was Godfrey Dame. Is that not the case? The petition was given to the CJ. The matter became moot. And they submitted a supplementary or filed a supplementary motion that everything was unconstitutional, but they must stop everything, which was also dismissed by the Supreme Court. You see, if, like my brother said, if she was going to go down alone, that wouldn't be a problem. But this unwavering attempt to destroy institutions, the Chief Justice may think that she's only targeting the presidency and, for that matter, the government. But she's also hurting the image of the Council of State. In fact, she doesn't respect them at all. Because the Constitution is so clear that before you establish a prima facie case, it has to be done in consultation with the Council of State. 31 members of the Council of State, including former Chief Justice and Speakers of Parliament, President of the National House of Chiefs, a lot of chiefs on it, businessmen and so on and so forth. So is the Chief Justice telling us that all these people hate her, and that all these people can be manipulated to behave in a certain way? So now the attempt to remove this CJ happened during the Akufo-Addo's regime. Remember the petition that was filed by Professor Kwaku Asare? Yeah. He raised fundamental issues. That the CJ was attempting to do something that was unconstitutional. That is nominating judges to the Supreme Court. What are you doing in this country? Yeah. The president then, Nana Akufo-Addo, together with the Council of State, said they didn't see any questions that necessitated the removal of the CJ. He dismissed the petition. In fact, the president was so much concerned about why that petition had to be leaked. That was his focus. And that he was even looking at provisions within our criminal code, our jurisprudence, that could nail Professor Kwaku Asare, so that by now you'll be languishing in Zaum for you attempting to remove the Chief Justice. He dismissed it. Now a new government comes to power. Someone petitions. A prima facie case is established. Committee is set up. You are asked to step aside. All these things are contained in our constitution. And you say someone is hunting you. Then it is the people of this country that are hunting you, because whatever is happening is contained in the constitution. And this constitution has been accepted by the people of this country. So if there are any wrongdoings happening, you must be angry at the constitution. And not individuals who are only doing what is expected of them under the laws of the land. When you yourself have said the law is the law. Now you see what she did the last time, Senna. If no contempt charges are brought against her, it has opened the floodlight. I bet you there is no case that will go to court that I will not comment on it. Take it from me. If contempt charges, if the woman is cited for contempt, nobody can prevent anybody from commenting on a live case. Because that's what she has done. So lawless. So lawless. And we must not be counted on. I am very disappointed in the husband, honestly. Husbands are supposed to protect. He must not allow this to be continuing. What did she come to tell the people of this country as being violations? That she was searched. She was searched whilst attending to committee meetings. Hey, madam. So you were not supposed to be searched. What she has even done presupposes that the searching of her was very important. Can you imagine this woman going with cameras? She will go and video everything and edit and throw it into the system. So that is the one worry. The second worry has to do with the venue. Edu Lodge. Senna, you see where the High Court is? If I tell you what happened to my great-great-grandfather at that location, Nanedu. Anytime I am invited to this court and I remember what happened to Nanedu, I can't think far. But I'm compelled to go because I've been summoned. Everyone has an issue with the location, but go and speak your side of the story. You say location. So that one too cannot be countenized. Say the husband was not allowed to enter into the venue. The amount of violations. And you wonder which provisions in the constitution states that when you are invited before any committee of inquiry, your husband or your wife must be by you. That one too is another matter that she spent so much time on. Say the first day his lawyer was not acknowledged, but what she failed to do, even if it's anything to go by, is that the subsequent days, was the lawyer allowed to do whatever he wanted? That one is absent. The Chief Justice tells us that in spite of the provisions in Article 146 or 144 thereof, that before judges are nominated to the Supreme Court, there has to be a consultation with the Judicial Council. So it's a practice, it's an established practice, that the Chief Justice, together with the Attorney General and the Ghana Bar Association, they give us the judges. Oh, she's exposing things. Oh. You ask yourself whether the Attorney General, the Ghana Bar Association, and the Chief Justice, they constitute the Judicial Council. His answer is an emphatic no. And this is supposed to be a violation. Then she takes on Daniel Ofori, clean. She doesn't respect the man at all. But you see, for her information, for the information of your viewers, I have said it here before. Daniel Ofori is not just Daniel Ofori, he's an investor. He has a huge investment in this country. So if you are talking about him, you must also be measured. Now, Daniel Ofori being matured, I'm sure you have read his response. He said he's not going to respond to the Chief Justice in spite of the clear lies or falsehoods told at the press conference. That is how things are supposed to be done. You are a Chief Justice. You are supposed to lead our justice system. You are supposed to straighten the judiciary. The very person that is mandated to do that is now in the public space complaining of injustice. Then it marks of failure. That you don't have to be in that space. Look, Mr. Daniel Ofori raised 21 issues of misbehavior and 4 issues of incompetence. Go to the committee and explain your side. Now you are telling us that the committee, you are angry because the committee did not even give you a copy of the petition. So you ask yourself, which petition did she respond to the president? So she doesn't trust the president nor the committee members because they could change it. Would it not benefit you if the president gave me petition A that contains issues to do with farming, and the committee is dealing with issues dealing with football? Who will lose? Would it not be the committee? These two must you come and tell us. She makes the point that she has received threats. Hey, madam, Torkonoo to receive threats and will keep quiet? It will never happen. Palpable falsehood. She told the people of this country without evidence. And at the same time that she was telling us that she received threats and then be lambasting the people of this country plus the government, at the end of the program I saw 2 tall policemen offering protection to her. What a beautiful country. You go and speak your mind and after police guides you. Are you not happy with that? So, Sana, the long and short of what the Chief Justice came to do was to appeal to the people of this country, to beg for her to have her entitlement. I mean, that is the summary to what she did. But to say that, you don't have to go round in circles. Acknowledge that you goofed. Should have negotiated your exit. But if you have realized that where things are going is not favoring, there is a way to go around it. Because he said now it's not an option because of a decided case. And that you could lose all your entitlement. So you are going to fight to the end. No, let us do something about the entitlement if that is the case. So that we will have our peace of mind. But now you are discrediting your own colleagues. From Justice Foreman to Justice Siedu, to even those that sat on your case. Because when you went to the Supreme Court, one of the relief that we were seeking was that this whole committee hearing has to be heard in public. Is that the case? They refused. Now you are in the public. It means you don't even respect that decision. When you yourself have told us that when matters are before any court, we have no business commenting about them, then you come and do this against what is stated in the Constitution. By now she must be preparing herself to resign. But I would plead with this administration that if there are ways of, as it were, forgiving her wrongs, to look into the matter of her entitlement, because that seems to be the case. I'm not the president anyway. That could be looked at. And other than that, the angle that she is trying to go, it will not help her. I'll end it here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And he referred to that statement by Mr. Daniel Ofori, who says, my attention has been drawn to a media engagement on 25th June 2025 by the suspended Chief Justice, at which she publicly discussed the contents of my petition for her removal as Chief Justice and the proceedings in respect of the petition. The Chief Justice is acting in clear breach of the provisions of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, which requires the inquiry to be in camera. As a law-abiding citizen and out of respect for the constitutional process and the committee, I will not seek to go on the path of the suspended Chief Justice, not even to correct plain falsehoods in her statements. When it is constitutionally and legally appropriate to engage the public on matters regarding my petition and the process, I shall do so. Truth stands. And that's signed Daniel Ofori, who is one of the petitioners who have submitted a petition against the Chief Justice that have triggered Article 146 hearings that are currently being conducted by the committee. They are supposed to be in camera, but the Chief Justice gave us a taste of how she feels about how the committee is going about its work and the petition before the committee. Mr. Pratt?
Well, last Wednesday, the suspended Chief Justice invited the media for a press conference. And she announced to the world that she cannot be Chief Justice again. She gave us reasons why nobody, under any circumstance, should appoint a person like her as Chief Justice of this country. One, she demonstrated an incapacity to rise above her prejudice. She demonstrated an incapacity to come out, of a family history which has clouded her judgment and affected her emotional stability. I mean, anybody suffering from these symptoms must not be allowed to be Chief Justice. Because we expect that whoever is Chief Justice will be fair to all those who appear before her. This one is incapable of being fair to all those who appear before her. One of the major complaints is this: that while the sittings are taking place, something to do with the murder of Major Aqua took place there. And that Major Aqua was her uncle who looked after her. And because of that, she's emotionally traumatized. These are her words. So I ask, Justice, Her Ladyship, Lordship Torkonoo is sitting in the Supreme Court. And somebody appears before her, and the person is called Amatekwe. That person, ab initio, has lost his case. Ab initio. It doesn't matter how the case is presented, it doesn't matter the legal validity and so on. Simply being called Amatekwe trouble, lost your case. And this is what she is saying. Okay? It's not that somebody is saying, she is saying. It is obvious from what she's saying, from what she herself is saying, that anything which is remotely connected to the murder of the judges and the retired army officer shifts her balance. So you can count the thousands, maybe millions of things that have some connection with that regrettable development in our history. Okay? Now, don't you forget that the NDC claims its beginnings from the PNDC. And don't you forget that one of those who was executed for that gruesome murder was a member of the PNDC. So the hostility to the NDC is established. And perhaps this is a window to understanding why some decisions were taken by her as Chief Justice. And this may also explain how somebody like her was jumped over her seniors to become Chief Justice. This press conference was very, very useful. And indeed, I wish that she would organize another one. So that we can begin to understand the person we're talking about. She says something else, which is very interesting. One of the things which traumatizes her is the absence of her husband. That in tense situations, when her husband is not around, she loses it. Wow. Head of the judiciary of Ghana. So when there are all these complicated constitutional issues before the Supreme Court and she's sitting in court, she's presiding over the Supreme Court, you have to bring a husband. Because if you don't bring the husband, trouble. Look, she said these things about herself. If somebody had said these things about her, I would have been very angry with the person. Yeah. But these are statements that she's making about herself. That in times of tension, the husband has to be in the room. So when there was that dispute over whether or not the speaker could actually suspend or remove members of parliament, and it became a heated argument, major political issue, and she was sitting in the Supreme Court. Was her husband in the court that day? And if the husband was not in the court, how did that affect her? Unbelievable. You see, Sana, unfortunately today we don't have enough time. One of the other things that the suspended Chief Justice did was to display her exceptional lack of knowledge of the law. I mean, what she did to herself that day at the press conference was terrible. Look, me, I haven't gone to law school. I am not a lawyer. In fact, the only law we learnt was in the Institute of Journalism where we did press law. Yeah. So, but there are some basic things that even us, we know. We know, for example, that the law is the text of the law itself, the hardcore text of the law, in addition to what is referred to as precedent, decisions of the courts, especially decisions of the Supreme Court. The suspended Chief Justice did not know that the Supreme Court, at least on 3 occasions, has pronounced on the confidentiality, the in-camera hearing of Article 146 cases. She didn't know. Senna, she didn't know. She says she doesn't know that the law says that the proceedings has to be held in camera. She didn't know. She didn't know the law.
The law is the law.
My goodness. I mean, look, Senna, there are 3 cases which the Supreme Court has determined on this matter. And first one is Justice Derry versus Tiger Eye. You remember, you recall that. Second one is the Ajay Chum versus the Attorney General. And the third one is the Ghana Bar Association versus the Attorney General. Our suspended Chief Justice did not know. Unbelievable. And the worst part is the fact that the suspended Chief Justice is now holding a press conference, looking all of us in the face and telling us that the judiciary can be manipulated for political purposes. The judiciary, she just left.
She's not even left.
She hasn't left.
Well, the judiciary she presided over. She is now telling us that it can be manipulated. Politicians can play games with the judiciary. So when she was sitting there as Supreme Court judge, what did she see? What did she do? And if indeed the judiciary can be so manipulated, is that not sufficient reason why we, the citizens of Ghana, must support every effort to reform the judiciary? Hey, Justice Isaba Torkonoo, why did she do this to herself? You know, this is something that she should have allowed her worst enemies to do to her. But she chose to do it herself. She actually expended resources to do this damage to herself. I can't believe it. Anyway, be that as it may, now that we know, now that she has told us that in the absence of her husband she cannot function, now that she has told us that even when she enters a place, the height of the walls have effects on her. You remember that Edu Lodge, the walls of Edu Lodge are too high. It frightens her and so on. Well, she decided to do this to herself. I really, really, honestly pity her. What can I say? We don't have enough time. Let's leave it here.
Thank you. Thank you. One thing we both agree on is that I want more of those press conferences. Yes. Anyway, so that was the matter of the CJ. So what I'll do is I'll do at least some 5 comments from those of you who are listening to us. Then we'll turn to the Israel-Iran matter, or Israel-US-Iran matter. This is Dennis Yakwete, who says he was so sad that no less a person at the CJ could violate Article 1468 of the Constitution in the manner she did. Regrettably, the NPP standing on the said constitutional violation demanded from the AG and the President to respond to the CJ's call without first condemning her conduct, to suggest as though the NPP was the brainchild of the said press conference. Why won't the NPP direct its concerns to the fact-finding committee for the removal of the CJ, or better still go to courts, as they always do when the CJ herself did not think it wise and respectful to address her concerns in writing and address to the President on the quiet, consistent with Article 1468. That said, and given the conduct of the CJ in the said presser, should she be cleared of any wrongdoings eventually, will she be able to go back to the Supreme Court and work with the same colleagues she appeared to have accused to be complicit in a ploy to remove her, or those colleague justices must resign to give way for her to function? I just can't fix it. That's Dennis Yakwete, who sent that message. Thank you, Dennis. And then there's James K. Saba, who says, a fowl even struggles if it's to be killed. So I'm not surprised about the attitude of the suspended Chief Justice. A comment about the murder of the justices clearly portrays the fact that she says she's an NPP member. Madam Torkonoo should stop lamenting and do the needful. James K. Saba join us. Hadi Pickfam says the suspended Chief Justice is trying to obtain public sympathy, which she doesn't deserve. A stature as a lawyer, and she says one is using a veiled threat on her is even problematic. How is she going to demonstrate same if she is ever asked to provide evidence? It is almost like telling the court that the issue before the court is spiritual. Courts do not deal with assumptions, rather hardcore evidence. The Chief Justice is just trying to be smart. At the rate she is dealing with the matter, any such threat would have been reported to the police. No amount of propaganda by the suspended Chief Justice will bring down the government of President John Dramani Mahama, inshallah. That's Hadi Pickfam who sent that. This one says, good morning, Senator. Bless you and your panelists. From Kucho, Mensha Zongo, Kumasi, please. About the CJ, I still don't understand her. Is she not a lawyer before becoming CJ? Well, if indeed she is not being a remote CJ, why is she making too much noise? She should act as independent, so we the Ghanaians who beg God to sympathize with her, not those in the NPP. And then the next says, Senator Tubito, clearly it looks like the Chief Justice's conduct has landed her in her current situation. But Senator, we all know there's a first time for everything, and some first time things open repetitive doors for other future issues. We failed to use an expose of our judges to sanitize the judiciary, but rather we said let's think about Ghana's image, always thinking about the international community whilst forgetting that it's the human behaviors that form the institution's image. The Chief Justice must be checked, and if found guilty, dealt with without mercy. And also we must see to it that our rooted political games is not what's pushing her out, and even look into some of the allegations she raised as we check her too. That's coming from Snet. As always, thank you. And then let me conclude. Courage from Ho Kokompero said, the simple question I want to ask is, does the employment letter given to the CJ by the former president more important and powerful than the Constitution? Because if I'm not mistaken, the CJ says she acted according to her employment letter. Courage sent that from Ho. Thank you very much. I wish I could go through more, but we are running a race with time. If you just join us, Mother of all talk shows, Alaji and Alaji, of course, live on Pan-African Television. Thank you to those of you who are joining us on Facebook and also on YouTube. And of course, you can watch us on TV, and we are live on Radio Gold. Let's move to the matter of Israel versus Iran. When this week started, we didn't know how far it would go. But by the Wednesday when the CJ was addressing the press conference, there has since then been some uneasy ceasefire. Iran says, if Israel fire, we will fire. As long as they don't fire, we will not fire. That is the situation we have currently. Israel, a few hours after the ceasefire, was accusing Iran of firing a missile after the ceasefire. Iran says, we did not fire the missile, but if you fire in response to a missile we did not fire, we'll fire back. And so now we have that ceasefire in place. Israel has returned to what they've been doing for over a year now, beating down Gaza. Well, let's talk about that. And I start this time around with Honorable Ninoy Hansen, Norte.
Ninoy Hansen, Norte.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator. In fact, the world is changing, and it's changing so fast. I like the analogy you gave with your missile fire. It's like some Tom and Jerry, cartoon game. But these are lives that are at risk. What is Iran? Iran is one of the oldest civilizations in the world. It's a 5,000-year-old civilization, continuous civilization that has never been defeated before. That is Iran. It is not a creation of some empire somewhere like Ghana. No. This is one of the oldest civilizations in the world. It has one of the oldest religions in the world, Zoroastrianism. People don't know. That's where it comes from, Persia. when you read the Bible and they talk about the 3 wise men going to visit Jesus at his birth, that was the 3 wise men that came from the east. They came from Persia. So even at Jesus' birth, Iran was there. Iran is not Israel. And Iran has taught Israel a very good lesson in the last few days. They have really beaten Israel, how do I call it? Taught them a lesson, whipped them. And it got to a point that Israel stopped media men from covering what was happening within their country. Why? Because Israel has become a bully. What is Israel? Israel is just a racist, neo-colonial, European outpost that is using apartheid and genocide to steal other people's lands. In fact, the people that find themselves in Israel today who claim to be Jews, majority of them are not Jews. They are Europeans, they are Kazakhs, especially the Ashkenazis, what we call Ashkenazi Jews. They are Kazakhs from somewhere near modern-day Ukraine, who converted to Judaism. True Jews are not white people, they are not European. They are Semites, they are black people, they are Africans. I even saw a map recently of Akan migration from Canaan to Ashanti or wherever. So there's a lot that is going on. There's no difference between Israel today and apartheid South Africa. There's no difference. No difference. They even share the same uniform. If you watch apartheid era military uniform and IDF uniform, it's the same. They even share the same name. One was IDF, the other one was SDF. It's the same formula, the same idea, the same white European supremacist thought process and mindset. There's a video recently I watched on YouTube called the BB Files. If you make time, watch it. It will tell you the mindset of Netanyahu and the government that he has formed today with people that the Israeli government itself considers as terrorists. Ben Gvir and the other guy, Smolovich or whatever. These are people that their own country, their own governments have what do you call it? Tagged them as settler terrorists who are causing problems within the region and within the country. Israel itself as a country has problems with its own citizens. In fact, the definition of the state of Israel itself is problematic. Because you have a state that is for only a certain section of its citizens, then there's a problem. Because today, me, as a Ghanaian, if I decide to convert to Judaism, I automatically have a right to go and live in Palestine, somebody else's land. Does that make sense to you? It doesn't. So it is a pure conflict between people who are for justice and people who want to promote injustice. It's as simple as that. But you should see the people that support the injustice. The Americans, the Europeans, the Australians, and Canada and co. Why? Because they perpetuated the same formula on the indigenous people of those other continents and those areas. It's the same formula. Nothing has changed. Insofar as we can control you or have access to your resources and we want it, we go for it. There's one thing that people are also missing when it comes to this conflict, that there's a huge gas discovery on the shores of Gaza. Huge. Trillions of cubic meters worth of gas that everybody is eyeing. Israel is eyeing, Turkey is eyeing, Egypt is eyeing, and therefore you find Egypt quiet, unable to speak on this matter or side with the victims of this matter. Why? Because they want to share the gas with whoever wins on the other side. All these states that we talk about, Israel, Turkey, modern day Egypt, and the states around there, were all the creations of European powers that won or defeated the Ottoman Empire in 1919, 1921, the First World War. This was spoils of the booty. So a place like Cyprus, a portion was given to Turkey as a gift. So the same problem. Nothing has changed. Like we had a plebiscite in West Africa, parts of Togo became part of Ghana today. It was the same thing. They were all spoils of war. But the formula hasn't changed. What I want to drive at is that the formula hasn't changed. Even if I was in Iran's shoes, I would cancel the NPT agreement. I would withdraw from it. And also go look for nuclear bombs. Because if somebody can wake up in the morning and preemptively come and strike you, claiming that he's stopping you from being able to defend yourself, then you might as well not be part of the agreements and defend yourself. You must quickly find the tools to protect yourself. Why don't they go to North Korea? Because North Korea has nuclear bombs. They can match them boot for boot. But even with the little that Iran has been able to teach them a lesson that I think has woken everybody up. Not to belabor the point, we need to look for solutions and the way forward. For me, I'm not a believer in the two-state solution. No. I believe, just like a two-state solution was not possible for South Africa, a two-state solution is not possible for Palestine. We have to either fight or negotiate. You fight till you get to a situation where negotiation becomes possible, and then you have two equal parties negotiating. And if Iran is leading the fight, so be it. All the resistance movements that are supporting the fight should continue. Whichever way we can support them. They are no different from MK and SWAPO and PLAN and all those groups that we put together in Africa to fight apartheid in South Africa. Because creating a two-state solution is no different from creating the Bantu lands that the apartheid government tried to create in Southern Africa. So for me, I think now it is clear that there are two sets of people in this world. People that are for justice and people that are anti-justice. For me, I'm for justice. Without justice, there will be no peace. The problem that we are facing now is that even our Islamic brothers who, let me say, are closer to the Muslims, Palestinians, because when you go to Palestine, they are Christians, they are Jews, they are Muslims, but the Muslims are dominant. And the Arabian region where the Muslims are dominant, they themselves are compromised. Even not just the ones in Arabia. Take a place like Indonesia. They have similar problems in Indonesia with the Western Papua people, where they treat the black Western Papua people as monkeys. When you go to the universities, they treat them as monkeys. They treat them as second-class citizens in the so-called Indonesia that they are a part of. So, for me, it's a one-state solution. Iran at this stage is leading the fight. Iran will prevail. I mean, they have prevailed under 20 years of sanctions. It's not a civilization that will die tomorrow. Yes, they have their own internal problems. They have their own internal problems with Azeris and Baluchistanis and so forth and so on. However, they have what it takes to fight, and they are fighting a good cause. It's got nothing to do with religion. It's got to do with racism, injustice, killing, beheading babies, shooting them, driving on. People are going to pick food that you have told them to go and pick, and then you use them for pot shots, shoot off their heads. I've been following this and I've been watching the videos from all sides. I have friends in Israel, I have friends in Iran, some of them are my schoolmates, and everybody has given me links to their podcasts, their propaganda. And I follow all of them and I watch everything and I see it. Israel went to bomb Al Jazeera's, in fact, the news. A building that contained about 20 news agencies, nothing happened. Resolution after resolution, resolution after resolution, nothing happens. So for me, I think that the solution to the problem is a defeat of the Zionist supremacy, white supremacy regime. That's number one. Once that is defeated, or they've been brought to a stage where they are not capable, then we can negotiate for a one-state solution where all men are equal. Simple. Like we've done in South Africa. It's not that the world has not seen that before. We've seen that before. If we had not done that in South Africa and the revolutionary forces had not forced or won the wars in Rhodesia and Namibia and Southern Africa, I can bet you that by now Ghana would have been turned upside down. They will come for Ghana as well, especially with our gold. They will come for you. Because it's a white supremacy mindset that has developed, and the tools that are used to perpetuate this kind of mindset is apartheid and genocide. These are the tools. And that's why I keep saying that one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. Hamas and Hezbollah and co, they are all creations of the conflict. Prior to 1982, there was no Hezbollah. Prior to 1991, there was no Hamas. It is the oppression that has created these institutions. And out of these institutions are simple resistance movements that are using all tools that are available to them to fight the resistance, which includes terrorism. The same way the Israeli state is also using terrorism to try to kill, to destroy the people of Palestine. I think that there's room and chance for peace. Donald Trump himself said it. He said these two people have been fighting for so long, they don't even know what they are fighting over. However, for us, we know what they are fighting over. They are fighting for their dignity. People of Palestine are fighting for who they are, not what others have made them to be. They cannot be refugees forever. They cannot live abroad forever. They cannot be slaves on their own land. No. If it happened 200 years ago in the Americas and it was okay because there was no media, there was no social media, we didn't understand, we didn't see. Today we condemn it. But we cannot be watching a live feed genocide and massacre of a people and pretend not to see. No, we are not Egyptian mummies. We have eyes, we see, we have ears, we hear, we have noses, we can smell. And if it looks like genocide, it is genocide. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, this is Dr. Akovase Befia, who says, I'm confused by the position of the CJ. First, she exposed the committee to attack by revealing the venue of his sitting. Secondly, by saying her trial is politically motivated, has brought to question her understanding of the law she's supposed to uphold. And thirdly, it is surprising that the CJ of our apex court and CJ for that matter decided to take her case to the court of public opinion. Finally, Senator, it is my prayer for her to be found not culpable, so that we watch how she will perform her duties as Chief Justice. There is Lee who says, let's get our histories right, please. Part of Togo was not added to Ghana. At the time of the plebiscite, we had Gold Coast. Even some parts of the Volta region were already in Gold Coast before the plebiscite, so they didn't vote. Mr. Owusu.
Let me begin by discussing what Ghana's foreign policy is and relate it to the sort of commentaries that are run by some people who feel superior. I mean, this Zionist movement across the world is not only akin to what is happening between Israel and Iran, but rather they extend their nonsense to those of us in Africa, and as for us, they don't even respect us at all. And that is why you can have the ambassador of Israel to Ghana, Gilad, come here, invite the press, put a microphone before him, and tell the country his peace of mind without any fear of being reprimanded. The very day that man was able to question a decision of a sovereign nation called Ghana, I gave up. By now, he should be packing bag and every accoutrement leaving this country. But he still finds himself here. Remember the one that he took over from, that woman. As for her, she was moving from one radio station to the other. She was doing politics with us. Local politics. But does it surprise you? The other guy, what's the name? The UK...
John Benjamin.
As for him, I think he wants to take Ghana card. I'm sure he has one. I'm sure he has even voted in this country before. Nothing concerns him about UK politics, only Ghana politics. Ghana has a foreign policy, which is non-alignment. We believe in Pan-Africanism, international cooperation, and our local interest. That is all to it. All we expect, all our governments are expected to do is to make sure that we are friendly with all nations. We don't want to fight with anybody. For you to draw us into your needless battles. That will not be countenance. And I believe that some sanctions must be rolled out to that ambassador who is here, not doing his ambassadorial duties, but rather interfering in our local governance. It's so bad. Sarah, my brother has done a beautiful rendition of what is happening in the Middle East. I'll just pick one, and one, only one. It's all about business. It's about the West trying to, as it were, use the back door to silence China on top of it. If you look at Iran and you look at Russia, China, where does China get most of its crude from? It gets a lot of crude from Iran. And for you to make China powerless, you must curtail the supply of or the control of crude. And so what must we do? We must go back and play the old book, Israel, Iran, so that the world will feel that, oh, it's a usual battle. Then they will destroy Iran and then get hold of the commodity they call oil and to be using it against China. That's what we are dealing with. So you have Netanyahu who is sitting there, and interestingly they have been able to create a situation where, and our Muslim brothers in this country are also falling into it. They create the impression that it's a Muslim-Christian fight. And so when you go on various social media platforms, I always advise my Muslim brothers that don't reduce it to a Muslim. It has nothing to do with it. Read about the lines, read in between the lines, call them out, use superlative argument to call them out and not religious matters. But it has nothing. I have dealt with a lot of Iranians, and they are the smartest, one of the smartest people you can meet on earth. So smart. They know how to do business.
Very truthful.
So you don't have to be, as it were, be a victim of propaganda. Israel must be told in the face that they have been misbehaving in this world for far too long. For Christ's sake, we are in 2025. And as he was saying, the current crop of people occupying Jerusalem and Co., they are not Jews. They are not original Jews. Look, if you read the Bible, Songs of Psalm 1:5, it tells Solomon was speaking to the people. What did he say? He said, no, I'm black. I'm beautiful. How many blacks have you seen in there who call them Jews? Caucasians sitting there and telling us that they are Jews. They don't even, and those of you who are Christians here who are also thinking that it's your battle, the Jews, they don't even, those who believe in Judaism, they don't respect Christianity.
They spit on them every day.
And you are here. Interestingly, they go there, they say, oh, they are going to Christian pilgrimage or whatever. Mark, this country, what's wrong with this? So they must be called out. Iran must do everything possible if they intend to have a nuclear whatever, they must have it. As Reagan said, if you pull a gun and I pull a gun, we all sit down and speak sense. There will not be any war. This bully world where people have nukes, so they always want to threaten us. Today is Iran, tomorrow it will be Ghana. But you in 1968 or so that they signed the NPT? Has Israel signed the non-proliferation treaty?
No.
You haven't signed it. Iran, that you are creating the impression that they are vagabonds, they are tyrants, they are so wicked. They have signed it. They allowed their facilities to be inspected by the International Atomic Agency. You don't do that. Yet you want us to believe it because you are Israel. Hey, a day is coming, they have to be careful. They must know their history. It used to be United Kingdom that was so powerful. Soviet Union came in. All of them, where are they now? America definitely will fall. In fact, they are on the verge of falling. Power will shift to the other continents. But they must watch how they are treating those without nukes today. For tomorrow, if they also have superior technology, the dose you gave them will be the same dose that they will give to you. You cannot just be entering into a sovereign country and do whatever pleases you. Kill innocent people and tell us to support you. That is wrong. And it will be resisted with the last blood. Kudos to the Iranians. They show something, but for the intervention of the US, I'm telling you by now, they would have finished Israel.
Completely.
They have been convincing the world we have Mossad, you have Foko, you don't have anything. They would have finished them. And I agree with me also that a lot of the people in that Middle East are compromised. Countries that have money, they are compromised. They are the reason why Israel is emboldened to be doing whatever they think is right. But I dare say that America was very smart on this occasion. They processed it. That war wouldn't help their cause. And so, if today there is a ceasefire, that ceasefire must be ceasefire. If the Israelis make the mistake of firing one, Iran, you must fire 10. That's how you do some of these things. After all, blood will be, look, whether bombs or no bombs, we are going to die at a point. Whether bomb or no bomb, we will live. So this business of bomb is coming, we are going to sit down and chip in ourselves. No! If it has to be Mugamu, it has to be Mugamu. Everybody goes. So that the world would understand that it pays for all of us to respect each other. Not master-servant relationship. They must stop that. I'll end it. The time is not a friendly element today. Next week we'll come back on it. And let me greet Mr. Beto and the wife. They are watching you. They are in the OT region.
Good morning to them. Two things. Thank you, Mr. Solomon. Also,
enti wei ensema odi to edwa wei ensema Solomon Owusu de bia meka Solomon Owusu obia in fact owura no mani gye ne ho papa eti mi bisa me ho se sa Solomon Owusu enso na o NPP mu bia na sa na ye mi bisa me ho se Solomon Owusu enso or NPP mu bi, because the kind of communication, the kind of how we see Edin in common, Urano, in fact, now Juma Bobel Utieni Samoka, Nina Edidem, especially Madame Anabaseki Araba Gertrude Torkonoo Ninsemi. Madame no, I didn't hear Babo and Tiba catch the Ghana for say. Ubi tretio and go for flow retire sako any the kanika home. You speak without what? You speak without facts. As a judge, Odeyankase Chief Justice. As a judge, Torkonoo, Mami Torkonoo, as a judge, you speak without facts. Oh, say how come coming my junior course? Then and a judge Obeba be catch Ghana for you now say Obi tretio Obi Fefel Ufili say we are not saved. That is what she said in the press conference. Ufili say we saved. Eti for that matter no Nipa no catch yourself resign. Has been suspended as a Chief Justice and again resign. But when to me any evidence, when your evidence be on farm Ghana for, and you still tell Ghanaians say we should take you serious. Araba Seki Torkonoo. You still tell Ghanaians say we should take you serious as a Chief Justice. Mami way, she must go. This woman must go. And me cry minim die akantia asat now maame no eda so eti ni post no. Honestly minim die aka entia maame no eda so te ho no, because I was so muyi maame no 10 times so no fa cheme. I was so muyi maame no 10 times so. Now the following another NPP card-bearing members. Madam aye friend no. Abusa for fan chemi. Madam aye friend no. Madam Jane Mensah any ni 2 or 3 deputies. You are Bossman Yaw Asare. Any Tete. Is it Mokan Tete with a friend? These people must also go because they have consistently, they have frequently expressed, omoye bibia, omo show actually Ghana for say omo die, osono na no mudi achire. Nti even je Mensah kro be declare John Mahama as a winner, oman 6,000 instead of 6 million. Na no pie. Nti ade na ede na adwum say akwa ide Zabai na the whole Ganunya 6,000 bomia, a gardening na be 10 million and a for 10 million. You see, a coupon is a descending. I'm an ambassador. What are they doing right now? Anabaseki Torkonoo, a dear no oye, she say we need office bill and this for woman in coffee in 10 because this woman was there playing a striker role. She was there playing a striker role in NPP's government by prosecuting NDC in Crawford. For example, ambulance scandal, none who boom a year rat forcing in no boy doing able at forcing. Another one, Jachi question, do a citizenship or be declare the citizenship before say or then all contested. These are the people, in fact, and Emrana so mumwa. And you can say NDC for mama who's feeling sympathy the mom. They must face the law. They must face the law. I was a man in your moody. I was a man in your moyedwa. I yet took Roman and Mammy Becca said the law is the law. Okay. And then ran a chin on Umudion Cabio. Or to one now make allegations. Chief Justice Moa, our Chief Justice Pen, our judge, Supreme Court judge, or catch they say, obi FFL without showing evidence. What do you mean? Mame, what do you mean? Now, obi the assembly court no catch say obi threat no be sense evidence so no when you be amawa. Would you still follow up the case? No. Obeka che we kwa bechi ni pana to beka say only evidence. So in court we deal with evidence. We deal with what? Evidence, facts, figures. You can't just come and tell Ghanaians will be threat. Obi catch was a reason, Obi catch was a sacco, a whole lot of and trona obijina woody. I wish I for Midwest. So I dream of comment session. Bye bye.